been doing this show for about a year now, and I think one of the things that I've learned in this last year is that the sport of boxing is in like a pretty weird place right now. There's a weird merging of, social media and how that's affecting what fights are marketable and what fighters are marketable. And, of course, there's people wanting to see non-fighters fight, I think, as a result of that. You have the Paul brothers and other, either ex-fighters or other sports stars. The boxing, non-fighters fighting is becoming more and more common. And I think that's partly the influence of social media on everything, but in this case, how it's influencing what fights people want to see. And then you have the it's not age old, but you have the older issue of the conflict of interests between the belts and the promoters and the networks, and how oftentimes those three things can conflict with two different fighters, and it can make the biggest fights often difficult to make if those fights aren't matching a certain price, or a price that, those promoters find suitable for that level of risk. And I think as a whole, the direction that it's heading is more in the direction of sports-based entertainment and not exclusively sport. I don't know if that's good or bad yet. I guess I don't personally like it when non-fighters get these incredible opportunities on these gigantic platforms. I've seen hundreds of guys in boxing gyms that I know that are nobody, that maybe have not even had a fight, that I know, could beat either of those kids. But because of their influence, in that way, they're able to jump the line on those opportunities. Not that long ago, I don't think any of this shit would have been acceptable or taken seriously or mixed in, with actual boxing. But, 5-10 years ago, there wasn't social media in this way. It was like, oh, look at this high school party we went to. And there was, there weren't people making entire careers, entire personalities, in this entity. And I think in that sense, it's kind of harmful, where it gives non-fighters the opportunity to make boxing sort of a weird spectacle. But then I think it also helps for younger fighters, like younger guys that are actually dope, like Ryan Garcia, who maybe would have had a harder, I'm not saying he's had an easy come up, but I think there's a possibility he has a harder come up pre-social media. There's probably harder fights he has to take. Maybe he has to be the B-side sometimes. But with the amount of following that he has in social media, it would be very difficult to say that Ryan Garcia is 100% the B-side. Even if you're looking at him up against a two different fighters, right? And the other guy is way more accomplished, but is really not that well known. On some level, there is no A and B side in that fight. You know what I mean? If anything, the more accomplished fighter is the B side, because that's what's becoming more important, is not the athletic accomplishments, it's the following and the draw. And I think that again, I think it's good and bad. And I think you're seeing the good and bad, like just in Ryan Garcia's career, where, yeah, he's been able to grow his audience. He's got his own, he doesn't have to grow his audience within the sport. He's bringing his own audience to the sport. I think it's helping him. I think it's hurting him. Where it hurts him is in this last couple of weeks, where it's been rumored that he's going to fight Manny Pacquiao. And then all of a sudden that's like, that's not actually happening.